Welcome back to my channel Skillset Go, and welcome to the Kotlin programming tutorial. In this video we will learn what is lazy and what is latent keywords in Kotlin programming. So these two are used for declaring the variables. So these are the different types of declaration of variables. So let's see a quick definition of them both. Latent, if you use latent for a variable declaration, then it means that the variable which we don't want to initialize while declaration. So if any variable we don't want to declare, we don't want to initialize a value, then we will make it as latent. And latent keyword is allowed only for var variables, the variables which are mentioned with var. And lazy variable which has initialization value but not initialized until it is used. So during declaration we will provide a value to the variable, but it is not initialized until it is first used. So we will see a demo for these both type of variable declaration. For demo purpose, let's create a class demo. In this we will have a variable, let's say name, which is string, and first let's initialize it to value. So Skillset Go is my channel name. So here you can see we provided a value while declaration. Suppose if you remove this default value, then we will get an error. So if it is a var, then we must initialize a value during declaration. If you don't want to initialize, then we need to use lateint keyword, lateinit. So now you can see there is no error. So this variable can be initialized with using another variable, let's say init. So in this we can initialize, and let's have a function to print the values. Print ln name. So let's create a demo object. So as soon as you create this demo object, then this variable will be declared, but it don't have any value. If you want to provide a value, then you need to use init method. Let's call init method. So here we will initialize and let's print the value. So let's execute this program and let's see the output. So as you can see, we got as expected what we have initialized a value. So this is how we will initialize a value to a variable in a later part, not during declaration. So we need to use lateint keyword to achieve that. Now let's see what is lazy variable. For lazy variable, we will provide a value but not initialized during the object creation. So, and lazy keyword is used only for val variables. Val lazy demo variable, and we will use, so lazy demo variable is a string, and we will initialize a lazy initialization by using by lazy, open curly bracket and close. Then inside this we need to provide a value to this variable. Let's write Skillset Go lazy variable, and let's try to access, print this value here. So now if you execute this program, we need to get this value. Let's execute and see. So we got the value which is provided for lazy variable. So now this lazy variable is initialized to this variable during this point. So this is where we used that variable first time. So at this point this function will be called. So in order to know when this will be called, let's print a value here. Now let's execute this program and analyze the output. So now you can see, as soon as we create an object instance, then this value is not initialized. So first we are initializing a value latent variable, this will be called, then we are printing. So in print method we are printing first name and then we are trying to print a lazy variable. So at this time this function will be executed and this will give output and this value will be assigned to this variable, and finally we got the output like this. So this is a demo to tell the lazy variables will be initialized at the first use, not at the declaration of the class object instance. So whatever we discussed about latent variable and lazy variable is only applied for the member variables for the class member variables. So if it is inside a function, then we can use a var without using latent and doesn't provide a value. Let's create a variable here, var variable1 string. So now you can see we are not getting any error. So if it is inside function, we can declare a variable without initializing a value. If you try to initialize the same thing in the class level, then we will get an error. So this must be initialized or make it latent. So the same thing val also we can declare without a value. But if you try to use these variables without initializing them, then compiler will throw an error. Let's try to print variable1. So as you can see, we got an error, it must be initialized. So while declaring, it doesn't throw any error, but we need to use only once we initialize these variables, otherwise compiler will throw an error. But if it is the class level member variables, then we cannot declare a variable without a value. Either we need to mention a latent keyword or we need to have a value by default. So here we are getting an error if you try to use a variable without initializing it. So the compiler is throwing an error. If you want to ignore this type of error, then here also we can mention a latent keyword, Lateinit. So you see the error has gone, but during runtime we will get an error. So here developer says to compiler to not to show an error of not initializing a value. It is developer's responsibility to use this variable only after it is initialized. If developer uses before initializing, then developer gets a runtime error. If you remove the latent keyword, then compiler only handles this error. So here we will get an error, it is not initialized. So this is how the types of declarations works in Kotlin. I hope you like this video and understood the concepts latent and lazy. If you like this video, please share and subscribe my channel. Thank you for watching.